Oracle Alchemists particularly work well together? It's not. I mean, I guess there's a huge amount of Alchemist regen, so it does work with the ult
Yeah,
effectively.
that's the thing, right? Like you always have a way of popping your ulti. It's an old school combo, but am I saying it's great? And am I saying if you're going for that, you should pick Alchemist in first stage, first pick? No, I don't think so.
Hmm.
Uh, Probably steering us in the wrong direction here, but let's see. Um,
Is
what
it
can they?
possible?
Mhm.
Is it possible they've been ruined by the TeamSpirit bans there of Batten? Those bans don't seem like they. Well, obviously TeamSpirit know what they're doing in those bans, but it doesn't seem like a game wrecking strategy. We need the Batrider or the Beastmaster to make this work necessarily.
Maybe I'm just thinking like, I mean, Team Spirit have kind of picked into it, but maybe the Lycan being there, obviously the Wolves have a decent amount of magic resist, so the poison spray dealing physical damage will be an okay way to not make the Lycans laning quite as good. So maybe it is kind of forcing an Alchemist pause one.
Hmm.
Okay, this is actually good. I think this should be your Alchemist first tags, right? If Pango has a decent time, you build him that tags. He goes for something like a I don't know, diffusal maelstrom or some right click
And
and
mid
then
against the
just jump.
Tiny as well, right?
Yeah, just jumps around. I've seen it. I'm not sure what team did it, but I've seen the exact same combo and it worked. Um, it's possible.
Do you like it against the Viper though? Because they can surely flex that Viper to mid if they put Pango mid, and that's quite a rough lane.
It's a rough lane, but it's mid in 2022. It's not mid in 2015 where you're done if your lane is bad,
Mm.
right? Like you have water runes, you have people TPing to you, refilling that bottle. You can sustain yourself. It's not amazing, but it should be fine.
Hmm.
It is a Pango into a Rubik though, when we obviously know how good Team Spirit's Rubik players are, both Maposhka and Mira, both super capable of it. So they're even banning out the Enigma for themselves, maybe thinking that that might have been. That probably isn't running into the Lycan. I'm puzzled. I'll be honest. I don't know where either of these teams are going, and honestly, if I'm OneMove, that's probably what I want. You know, you want to try and bamboozle Team Spirit if you can.
The Venomancer banned as well. That's a curious one.
They ban a lot of these like spammy heroes. The Veno, the Viper, they get banned quite a bit in EU and picked as well quite a bit. Okay, that's just a solid standard run-of-the-mill carry. So this leaves what? Jug safe lane with who is it?
Vibe.
Viper probably.
Viper, Tiny mid, like and Rubik offlane. That
I mean, it could be a mid rubric, couldn't it?
it could. They do play like
With
Mira.
4 Tiny.
Yeah, Miposhka loves Rubik as well. It's gonna be an interesting set of lanes, but I guess like an offlane, Jug, safe lane, Tiny mid, right? It would make the most sense. Maybe Viper is mid as well. We'll see what they opt to
Yeah,
go for.
I just really like Pango into a Tiny, right? You've got that Swashbuckle obviously doing a lot of physical damage. Tiny, pretty terrible armor to start off. He can't afford to go into like the Soul Ring. Maybe he'll be forced to. Obviously, you just want the bottle and a lot of those other rotating items earlier on. So I think at least for mid, OneMove should be pretty happy. It's just how they're going to round out the draft.
Any thoughts? What would you predict? Snap predictions. You've got 20 seconds.
I don't even know
I
what are
mean,
they picking. They're picking offlane and they need something versus Lycan. Like
I was going to say Mars, but it's bad against Juggernaut. So
yeah, Mars, Kunkka, these kind of heroes aren't that great. What else?
Underlord.
Underlord, yeah, like these Tide Chaos Knight.
CK.
Okay. Well, it's a lot of
Instead of
burst
offlane
damage for
CK.
sure.
But they're taking the CK into their one position.
Hmm.
Afterlife is picking up the Pango. And it is going to be that mid-alk, so the one position we've not seen it in a huge amount. That's curious. Danog, talk me through the objectives as you see it of this OneMove draft.
Honestly, I feel like you aren't super mobile on Team Spirit, so I feel like you're just going to be putting a lot of attention over to this Alchemist so that you're able to get him super farmed up. Again, Acid Spray, minus armor, good against the Tiny, so he should be able to trade decently in the laning stage. The other thing as well is just make sure that once you've got that little bit of initial farm, make sure that Pango is having a decent time, because he is realistically one of the only ways that you're going to be able to lock down this Lycan super consistently in my eyes.
And Lizard, how do you think Team Spirit are going to be able to counter that?
You can make a couple of rotations on Mellow. ward up the jungle, win collapses lane, and move off of that. You just win the lane for collapse, and then the map completely shrinks for OneMove. I'm not sure. Like, I'm looking at OneMove, and I'm feeling this Pango needs to have a god of a game in order to for them to do anything on the map. If he doesn't, how do you get enough space for your CK, for your Alchemist, and for your Pango? It's like, and you have two extremely passive supports that don't really rotate a lot. Like Hoodwink can, but it's I'd like to be surprised. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm leaning heavily in TeamSpirit's favor, and this is basically just off of drafts.
Okay, well, can OneMove concoct something up with this Alchemist to surprise Lizard, or are TeamSpirit going to spin away with it? We're going to hand over to our casters. It's MLP and johnxfire.
Thank you so much, Dan. We do go into game number 1 of this best of 3 series here between TeamSpirit and, of course, OneMove. And it is indeed MLP, Dodo, and johnxfire. Jonathan, you're looking very handsome as always, sir, but how are you feeling before we get into this game 1?
I'm feeling great. Already some aggression on hand. Of course, as to be expected from this region, these teams do want to get running at each other early on. First blood already being drawn on Miposhka. And that is one thing the OneMove lineup can do really well, right? Like, they've got great initial levels, great control early on. They've got a good amount of stuns. You've got this pretty nice CK Oracle lane, which can just be aggressive. You can play with a root. You can play with the Chaos Vault really well. Suppress, look for those kill opportunities, and start running from there. Maybe by, applying pressure in the side lanes, you can buy that space out for the mid Pango, as Lizard pointed out, to get a rolling start as you'd want and just take over from there. But this is TeamSpirit, Mike. They're running off with a slightly weird draft, Pause 5 Viper up against the Alk, which is also a bit strange. It's going to be an interesting one to watch for sure here.
Certainly. I mean, I kind of agree with where the panel was going as well, right? Like, it does feel like there's going to be a lot of emphasis from OneMove's end to really set a nice tempo for their Alchemist. It's a classic 4 protect 1, but it's not really, because you've got a safe lane CK. So I think Lizard said Afterlife on the Pango has to have a godly game to create enough space for these two cores in the mid and safe lane. I tend to agree with that. And I was kind of shocked to see the last pick CK coming out from Knight. Mind you, to be fair, it was seeming to be a pretty bad out game, but it's going to be a very interesting game. I do agree with you on that, Jonathan, but we may as well start, of course, with this top lane that we are looking at. You have the Viper making his move up. You are going to have Knight in the CK and Seiyu, of course, on the Pos 5 Hoodwink, along with Collapse against them on the position 3 Lycan. John, this Pos 3 Lycan, do you imagine that the farm comes out easily here for Collapse?
I think you've got some early pressure you can pump out here in OneMove. Again, the double stuns with a Hoodwink instead of the Oracle. It's still pretty good. Bushwhack, along with the Aircrunch shot, can be pretty aggressive. You can sort of clear out the wolves when they do come out here from Collapse. So you can kind of farm that up. You do have the right-click harassment from Miposhka onto a melee core, so your Viper can just kind of AFK right-click, poison attack, orb walk, disrupt any pulse, and allow the Lycan to just farm up that way. It's a little bit back and forth. If you don't play with a stun pressure here on OneMove, it can become a pretty oppressive lane for Knight. So you'd kind of want to see OneMove maybe hit level 3. That's when their spells feel really good, especially on the CK, and start to maybe find some openings. But at that point, Collapse starts to get pretty tanky as well with his passive. So it's a tougher one for the CK Hoodwink, but there is still an opening for aggression. It's just easier for TeamSpirit to play passively here.
That's fair, John. We'll have a look at the other lanes as well. Of course, mid lane, you're going to have Belajul against Toronto Tokyo. So the mid Tiny versus the mid Alk is something you and I haven't had the pleasure of watching for a very long time, it feels. How does this matchup go, Jonathan? Is there something we're meant to be watching out for between these two?
It's a lot more passive for Melojul. As long as he has access to his small camp, you feel pretty good on the Alk. You're always going to have that farm advantage. So small camp access is more important than anything else, even more important than Rune. And I think as long as that support pressure isn't coming in to cut off the Alk's early farm, your investments in the hero will still pay off. There's always the kill threat from Toronto Tokyo. You overstep, Avalanche toss is going to be there.
Miposhka almost dropping there on the Viper, John, getting very, very low. And that's those timings you kind of mentioned earlier, right? Like, they're not quite level 3 yet, but even at level 2, they can start to get very aggressive here with the CK Hoodwink. And even with the Viper, it seems to be a bit of a struggle here for Miposhka.
Yeah, I don't think you mind too much on the Viper, though. Look at Collapse. He's very healthy in the lane. Already has the value point in his regen with a Feral Impulse. So he can just kind of hold through a lot of that early jump that OneMove might want to do onto Lycan. And as long as the Viper's taking that pressure off, you don't mind. You're buying space out for your core. This is a greedier offlane to start with for TSpirit. Just allowing Collapse to farm and sacking the Viper. It's kind of what you want to see. You are keeping that CK sort of down as well. He's not over farming here, not ahead of the Lycan in CS. So you're still seeing what you want, despite costing more regen here for the side of TSpirit.
Of course, bot lane, Pantomime, he's just going to drop here. Yatoro God, able to pick him up on the jug. Of course, Mirror going to be there in the Pos 5 Rubik, and naturally Afterlife on the position 3 Pango. But they do manage to secure a kill there for the jug, which is a very good start here for Yatoro. And John, you may have noticed that Yatoro, he's not really struggling too much in terms of CS either.
No, I mean, the Pango lane does feel pretty good for Afterlife on the offlane. In combination with the Oracle, you have some pretty interesting swashbuckle plays you could try to make with the Fortune's End. A little bit hard to catch, and of course, catching a jug out when the spin is up is very hard to do. They'll try to make a move on the Mirror, though.
Won't spin out, but Yatoro going to be kind of blocked off there by Mirror, so not really going to be able to get the damage off he wanted. Panto, at least going to be able to find the courier on his way out. I'm sure they'll be just fine with that anyway. They got the items off the courier there for the jug. So far, though, 1-1. Very kind of even lanes going on here, but I suppose that top lane is probably a bit scary here for OneMove, considering the Lycan's just getting a bit too much. This Knight, I'm going to try to move in on the Viper, but Maposhka's going to be just fine. It's that Helm of the Dominator into the Overlord timing you get worried about, though, against Collapse here on this Lycan. Like, once you have that up, it just feels like they really do control the map.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to clear out that pressure. I mean, the Alk can kind of clear out waves, so can the Pango to an extent. It's just not something you necessarily want, especially from the Pango. You kind of want to be aggressive. So you need to see that same momentum coming out for OneMove on their own offlane Collapse, just having a much better time. And Knight's always low HP. Maposhka, again, just doesn't care if he drops low, doesn't care if he gets reality rifted up. It's a Viper. You kind of win the right-click trades anyway with Corrosive Skin to slow down the attack speed, the damage you do. The resources OneMove have to drag in just to keep Knight in lane is costing them a little bit more on Sayu, and the Hoodwink does need some levels. It does need a little bit of farm to really feel good in comparison to the Viper. You want, build up in 4-staff, Arcane Runes. They catch Maposhka again.
They do. Stun is there. Akon shot to follow, but Maposhka, he's actually fighting back. Still Knight, getting a very nice crit, but now Collapse going to go for a bit of a chase. Not going to be able to secure the kill, though, as Knight is going to be just fine to survive. Collapse, though, he'll keep going for a bit more, but he has no way of locking down the CK, so can't really hope to secure his life. And Maposhka, though, on the brighter side for the Viper, he's going to come back with a full reset. And like you mentioned, John, Knight's already low HP. Chances are this top lane's not going to get any easier, as he will find Maposhka, and it seems like he'd rather almost just die now as Knight. But he actually stick charges up and tries to run for it. He will survive for now. And he does have a salve on the way. Problem is Toronto Tokyo is going to find him, and he even finds his courier.
Yeah, it's just hit and run. I mean, you think about the gold exchange in that sort of kill as well, right, Mike? You get almost like 200 gold for killing off the Viper. You've maybe had to drag in a couple salves at this point. Negated by the regen you have just to hold that lane. You're getting some EXP. You're not finding the farm in that CK. So again, even bleeding off Viper kills doesn't count for much from TSpirit, and an overarching viewpoint. They are getting some good moves down bot, though.
Yeah, nice pick up. Yatoro gonna end up going down as Panto's able to pick him up. Very nice initiation. Going right after the jug after they saw the spin being committed. They do take him down, and that's going to be a very important pick-off to make against Yatoro, considering how much the CK is currently struggling in terms of CS. Very, very important to try and slow down the jug a little bit more as well, and with those kind of kills, they are certainly doing so.
Yeah, they're keeping the jug down and kind of just building up in the Penguin. That's the bigger thing. You're having a great start here for Afterlife. Double Bracers up, Arcane Boots up, can just sustain his harassment out now. Level 6 has the role to play with as well. So you have this strong start from Pangolier, at least to start to make some plays down the line. You're starting to get some space out for your Alchemist to start working that jungle now with level 6 up in Melojule. And it is a Radiance Alch build-up, so kind of what we've seen some Alchemists kind of gravitate back to the Radiance build. No one to punish. And, it's not the strongest laning start for Melojule, but if he still finds that Radiance time, you're pretty happy here for OneMove.
Rotation's top lane here, John. You see the Oracle rotate up with the TP. Panto just making sure that Toronto Tokyo can't do as he pleases on that mid-tiny. I do think as well, going back to your point, John, the Radiance does pay off even better here because you're against the Lycans. So naturally you're going to enjoy kind of burning down those creeps and getting the evasion chances going. That's certainly going to be a bit more valuable here this game, I think, as top lane, Maposhka gonna get rifted up. Stun is there. He should go down, but Collapse is going to try and force something out of this. Fate's Edict, though, going to make it rather tough, but Seiyu still going to be chased down. And with the creeps, he might have enough, but it doesn't seem like he wants to free the center away. The Collapse instead, he's going to back himself out on the Lycan. And for OneMove, they get away with a free Viper pickoff. Meanwhile, this Alk in a bit of trouble, but instead they'll go after the Oracle. Melajul going to try and fight back. Eventually, we'll pick up Mirror anyway. So a bit of a support trade going on. Toronto, he's still sticking around here on that Tiny, but without a blink up to initiate, it may be a little bit challenging to burst the Alk down. Seiyu would be a lot easier, though, when he does fight him with a very nice Avalanche Toss combination. Toronto Tokyo not quite getting what he wanted, but it's almost just as good.
I think you're getting a lot from TSpirit and movement out. Sure, you're investing a lot of heroes to go up top. You're kind of giving open space for the Pango to work bot lane, but there's no one to follow through to Pango because everyone's forced into the top jungle. You already scouted out the stacks in the triangle as well, and you're preventing the build-up in the top jungle, but you're committing.
Knight? They are committing, John. Knight's going to rift up. He might actually make it out as Panto's going to pop the Fate's Edict and the Purifying Flames. And he's actually going to survive, but it was a very aggressive movement from Knight. They had the vision from the Alk, but whew, just trusting his teammate, making sure he thought the Oracle was going to save him, and that he does.
And it saves them, it doesn't save their top tier one. Lots of space bought out by TSpirit to allow Collapse to just push in with that Dominator. A good early objective allows them to keep that aggression up in the top jungle if they want. Look at all the sentries OneMove are already forced to put down on their top jungle early on. 4 sentries watching every corner, just to ensure there's no vision game. And look at the triangle. They get to drop this ward down. They know the stacks are there. They're going to be able to contest on TSpirit's side. So you might have taken back your top jungle, but you're going to lose that triangle if you're not careful.
They might at least find Mirror, and they will. Afterlife able to take the kill for himself in this Pangolier, and well, they are taking the stacks now. Melajul seems to be aware that something might be a little bit awry here in this triangle, and maybe just Mirror moving up for the rune. Kind of scared him off a little bit and thought, oh, I better take the stacks now. So Melajul, go ahead and take care of it for himself. The Ancient's naturally going to take a lot longer, though. I do wonder whether TSpirit try to rush for something in this triangle, but it doesn't really feel like they have the team fight anyway to force a fight this early on in the Dire Triangle, so it looks like they're just going to let this happen.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the info, but it's like you pointed out earlier, Mike. Without the blink on Toronto Tokyo being up yet, it's pretty hard to start these fights. No one really naturally initiates on the side of TSpirit outside of the Tiny with blink, so you're just kind of forced to sit and watch. The Ancients haven't been started out. As you mentioned, it's going to need a little bit more in Melajul to really tank through that one. And they've got room bought out on the map. There's so many supports that have to stick around the Alk, have to stick around the jungle. That top lane's still pretty free for Collapse to split push. Bot lane has been completely free for Yatoro the past 5 minutes, almost feels like, maybe even longer. Your jug buildup is still there, keeping up with the Alk almost. And Collapse still has this really good timing into the Helm of the Overlord. And that is still going to be a bit painful for OneMove. Now, for OneMove, they're inching towards the blink here for Afterlife. That's also going to be the launching point for them to get even more aggressive play with their combos. Still have to watch any free kills, though.
Knight, Mirror, he's got the rift up. Bring Knight closer, back into Maposhka, but do they have the control? It doesn't seem like it. Once again, Panther will be there with the TP out, and Knight, he's going to be just fine to survive, as he'll even place a nice little sticker down there. And that is, again, one of the weak points. They don't have great lockdown, not without Toronto Tokyo, and when now Collapse, he has to be very careful as they'll land the bushwhack into the Fortune's End, and eventually with the sharpshooter, surely they've got him, and they will. Panto able to take the kill with the Purifying Flames. Another nice kill for OneMove.
They get the big core, they punish TSpirit for sticking around too long. Great smoke out from OneMove to get that angle. And, you know, they're building up. They threaten with their Pango. They don't really find anything else beyond that. It's not the longest cooldown in the world. And they're buying space out for Melajul. Already has a Sacred Relic. Radiant's not too far off. TSpirit are smoked up, though. That blink on Toronto Tokyo is up, and they have a good angle to find a kill into clearing out some stacks.
Yeah, Knight, he's going to run right into them. And of course, they will go right after the stacks if they get away with this. Knight Oh, he's gonna try and take the creeps while he can. He's actually just hitting the large camp there. Trying to get the creeps before they do inevitably go down to TeamSpirit. Do they go for the Ancients? It feels like they're lacking a bit of damage here, TeamSpirit, but instead, they can certainly rotate mid and try to force the mid tier 1 tower. The blink is there, Toronto with a great avalanche out, onto 2, into the Omni. No messing around from Yatoro. Commits the ulti straight away. And now they can certainly look back at the Ancients.
Yeah, they've got a lot of room. Clearing out 2 tier 1 towers already, taking control of the top jungle, again forcing all those resources from OneMove to keep control there. Now getting the room to clear out that triangle. I mean, you got a couple of large camp stacks a while ago for OneMove. The Ancients are still a lot bigger. They've got the clear for it. They have pretty good AoE clear just with a value point and Nether Toxin, of course, Avalanche Toss, and just the Jug with a Maelstrom up. They get a lot of farm for their trouble.
Oh, nice blink away. Toronto, he's just fine. He'll throw an avalanche back the way of Knight. And they retreat at the perfect time. All the creeps taken from the triangle. That was all the Alchemist farm being robbed away from Millijul. And you're not going to be happy about that as OneMove. That's a lot of gold to give. And now the net worth lead, it swings the other way, John. TeamSpirit, they'll hold the 1k net worth lead.
You're up against an Alchemist team. You know, it doesn't feel good for the Alch team to be behind even by 1k, less than 1k on the opposing team, because your Alch is still siphoning all that gold away for himself. You are still ahead of here on Millijul, 1.5k, 1.4k above that Jug of Yatoro, but it doesn't feel like enough. Your Alchemist needs way more gold to be on top. He's working on to that blink next. They are pressuring the spot lane now, though. Knight is taking the front with a Phantasm. They spot out Mira here.
Yeah, nice swashbuckle out from Afterlife. Just checking, though. Mira gonna actually swash towards the right side, but it won't matter. Sharpshooter's gonna land, and Afterlife had the vision anyway. In the meantime, they'll go back towards the bot tier 1 tower. However, there is a big smoke rotation coming from TeamSpirit. Afterlife may not be able to avoid it as he does get tossed right into the Golem of Collapse. And he is gonna drop. They at least get the tier 1, but they might lose Panto, as well as he'll try for the TP and barely makes it out. Just barely.
Yeah, that's on edge. Manages to escape, and you still get the bigger target here for TeamSpirit. You lose your tier 1, but you find that nice kill on the Pango, which again has to have a really quick build-up. Yatoro is all alone here, though.
Nice spin away, avoiding the bushwhack from Seiyu, but Knight can certainly chase him down now with the rift up, though. Yet Toronto is going to make his way over, and they have the Omni. Knight's going to go down. Millijul, he'll try to trade here with the Sharpshooter. It's just not going to be enough. They don't have the follow-up damage. At least they find Mira. There's one positive in all this, and that's that they find Mira on the Rubik. But it goes back to the point that we were making earlier and the panel was making as well, John. Afterlife needs to always be there to set up a team fight. Otherwise, you just can't fight.
Yeah, they're so reliant on the roll. It's really hard to catch out something like, say, Yatoro with a spin, as we've already seen. The spell immunity just kind of ruins him. They need a jump factor there, and without that, it's hard to lock in those bigger heroes. They are still getting that build up. Millijul has the space now to just work his triangle once more. No vision left there from the side of TeamSpirit. They've only got low ground wards by the mid lane. So you're kind of allowing the Alch to still build up, still maintain that lead. 2k gold up now, going for the AC next with a blink up. It can still be a bit of a big target. Like, the Jug doesn't deal with high physical HP cores all too well, high armor and high HP cores, as you are sort of reliant on Omni, but you could always go with Blade Fear. He is going for the shard next with a Basher on top, so you still have ways of working through that. Yatoro, though, still being surrounded here.
As the spin up, it's not going to be the easiest kill in the world here onto Yatoro, unless Afterlife can blink him with the Rolling Thunder, but even then, it's just, you've got to time everything perfectly here. Seiyu, at least going to land a bushwhack to start, and I believe Yatoro may have spotted him out. Does go for the spin away. Really does go back to the draft as well. More OneMove. It's like, how do you start these fights? Well, they'll try onto the Viper, but he gets knocked to the low ground. It's just everything going wrong right now for OneMove, and if you can't set up with the Rolling Thunder, you've just got no hope in forcing a team fight. In fact, Roshan's going to get started now that the Rolling Thunder is gone.
Yeah, that's a pretty awkward moment for OneMove. They save their ward, but they're forced to deny it, and Roshan, without the Rolling Thunder, it's not something you can really contest, and you could try with a Bushwhack. It's not the easiest. And of course, Collapse having this strong start in Lycan, already with the drums on the helm of the Overlord, and it just simple, pulling out Roche. First Aegis going the way of Team Spirit. Major start for them, less than 1k lead standing, but again, you're up against an Alch. That feels more like a 4k lead just because the Alchemist is siphoning off so much from the other cores. Afterlife, still trudging behind. Knight bottom network core. Your pause 1 CK is not getting space in comparison to the Alch. I mean, this guy needs something. Like, he's gonna need a BKB, he needs the Echo Saber, he needs Blink, even the Shard. And that's all kind of a pipe dream with all the farm being taken by Melojul right now.
Yeah, it seems like they've kind of accepted the fact that Melojul's going to need to carry this game, as he does blink away just in the nick of time. Very close call there for Melojul. Blink was there in time this time around as Team Spirit. Well, they're still smoked up. They still want to try and invade the Dire Triangle, and they will do so. Nobody from OneMove around to try and contest this. His Knight might actually make his way up. He's under vision as we speak of Team Spirit. They'll get a nice D word off, though, at the very least. And now, Team Spirit, they're the ones under vision. Though, to be fair, I don't think they really mind being under vision right now with the Aegis up on Yatoro. All spells available. There's just nothing to be afraid about here as Team Spirit.
Yeah, you're finding everything you could possibly ask for. You've got the Ags build up for Toronto Tokyo, which is interesting. You know, we're big fans of the tree volley, Mike. Keen to see what Toronto Tokyo can do with that. I mean, you know, you don't have that morph combination, which is always kind of sad. Morph Tiny was the funniest thing we've ever seen from, I think that was a China game, so... it's still great to see a Tiny cute us up, and he has a Blink Echo, he still does a lot of damage. With a Tree Volley on hand, it's kind of memey, but it does give you good clear for, say, CK Illusions down the line, and, you know, when they're all clumped up, it's good punishment. And look at TS, they just go on to high ground, no fear.
Yeah, I mean, 19.5 minutes in, they're like, well, if you don't want to fight, we'll just move into the high ground. They will stun up Collapse at the very least and have got the Lycan. A great start now for OneMove in this team fight. Team Spirit, oh, they're going to move back in. Toronto Tokyo out onto the Oracle, takes down Panto, and now the Omni goes through.
Oh,
Melojul's
no.
going to go down. They bought back on the Oracle to try and save the Alch. It was too late. Really nice plays from Spirit. Like, they lose Collapse, but they find the Oracle. Oh, Knight, no.
Oh my god, that was so sad to watch. Melojul had his unstable concoction. He had no one to throw it to. He made matters worse. He got self-stunned, self-damaged. Yatoro just cleaned up, and they had to declump because he didn't have that much HP on Knight, and the high ground just continues. Like, you killed a couple of supports, you killed the Lycan. Sure, the Jug's your issue right now. With the Aegis, nothing's scaring Yatoro.
Great double avalanche and a toss out onto Seiyu, but he is going to be able to scurry away. Just trying to protect this top lane, or rather bot lane of Barracks. Basher now up with the shards on the Jug, and you've still got 2 minutes on that Aegis timing, but actually backing off? No, not quite. Toronto just back in onto Seiyu as Melojul. They're going to try and defend. It's a great bushwhack to get started as Maposhka. He does die first. Onto Toronto Tokyo. They do at least find the Tiny as well. Maybe they find Collapse here. He'll go for a run, but he has been locked down. Rift back in, into the stun, and, well, OneMove. They do get a decent team fight to go their way. Like, they'll even find the dominated creep. So not too bad of a high ground defense to come out. But John, if I am fair, it feels like it's more Team Spirit just playing very aggressively.
Yeah, and it feels like they're just looking for that end game, you know, clumping up. They're just wanting to play aggressive. They feel strong, and they are, but you still have to respect some of the control coming out from OneMove, especially if they find that roll angle. Afterlife has been doing a good job with that blink. Downtime of Rolling Thunder isn't that high, so you've always got a lot of aggression lined up. In comparison, Yatoro didn't have Omni Slash there, didn't want to overstay his welcome, knew that if he died fast, without Omni Slash, his secondary life just kind of feels pointless. So he has to play it safe. His team goes a bit too far, still by himself, but no one's around to punish him. And the Aegis still stands for about 50 more seconds. You're still in a really strong position for Team Spirit. And you cleared out at least the bot tier 3. Rack still stands, so it's not unplayable for OneMove. For OneMove's part, they have this potential to turn this into a bit of a ratting game. It's an alchemist, of course. You are seeing Melojul going for the travels. He could just work the map, start jumping around, clearing out creepways, applying some soft pressure on objectives, and maybe slow that pacing out from Team Spirit. It does feel like you still got some item spikes lined up. Your CK is still trying to build in the BKB. They will smoke up here in OneMove, though, knowing the Aegis is set to expire soon.
Absolutely. See what they find. See Yatoro, he's going to go for that large camp, so Melajul, he might be able to blow him up. Aegis is going to expire now, but Yatoro, he just reacts way too quick. Way too fast on the jug. Gets a spin out in time. In they go, though, with the Rolling Thunder, trying to get something set up, but nothing's being done. They'll go after the Dominated Creep instead. That's all they get out of this team fight. And they committed quite a bit there, John. False Promise, Rolling Thunder, Chemical Rage, Reality, or rather the Phantasm of everything was committed, apart from the Sharpshooter. And they only got the Dominated Creep.
Yeah, that's not good news for OneMove. That allows TeamSpirit to confidently push into an additional tier 2. They've secured control of the outpost. Roche still has a little bit of time until it's up, so OneMove should be able to regroup for that next objective if they want to. Maybe just stall out, keep farming up with your Elk, play with the Travels here, work your way into a CK-BKB, and try to take it from there. I don't know if that's enough, though. It's a pretty late, almost a pretty late BKB timing, 9.7k net worth on Knight. He needs to be able to jump in, right? Like, you need your Elk and your CK and your Pango to all be able to jump onto one target, blow them out, and then go from there. If you can get that chain stun off, we've seen it a couple of times on high ground defense, it can work out. It's just finding that circumstance, finding that condition for OneMove right now. It's difficult. TeamSpirit, reactions are too quick. Their aggression is just constant. They've got a good lock-in on the top jungle. They can just avoid any movements from OneMove for quite some time.
Absolutely. You see the positioning right now of Spirit. They just hang around the Roshan pit, just waiting. OneMove, they do have a bit of the map, though, to farm right now, so it's definitely a good time for them to try and catch up and put up a real fight here against Spirit. I say real fight, they are ahead in kill score right now, actually 12-14. It was those past couple team fights that have kind of gone badly here for Spirit, though. They have five-man smoked up now. OneMove, they seem to be aware that there is a smoke ongoing. Melajul does hide in a tree line, and nobody else shows the map here from OneMove, so see where this smoke ends up. They'll head into that triangle of the Dire. Gan was committed, and they find nothing with that either. They might just camp themselves here, though, and just farm here instead.
I don't think you mind for your TeamSpirit. It does still force OneMove to play pretty clump up, and you've got the Travels and the Elk. You're not really able to go out and shove in lanes. You don't have the vision to kind of play that way. So they're forced to play a lot more defensively on OneMove and just not leverage that flash farm the Elk can have on hand. You have to say, though, Mike, I'm excited because Toronto Tokyo's Ags is almost up. 600 gold away. Free volley will be in play. It doesn't feel like it's going to do a lot of damage, but, you know, I believe it was buffed, right, in this patch, so, you know, maybe it's actually good and we just don't really know.
I mean, look, Johnny, he's already kind of hitting for 300, right? So, you know, maybe he gets, it's at least going to do 1k damage in total in an AoE, and then he's going to get a crit stick, and then suddenly you're in big trouble. We'll see what happens, John. At least we get the memories, right? At least we get to experience the beauty of Tree Volley one more time here with Tony. The son of Ice Frog. He is Ice Frog's favorite son, in fact, I want to say, is Toronto. They're trying to move in and get aggressive, but OneMove, they are really just sitting back and playing passively.
Yeah, and they're just trying to play under what vision they have. They have a little bit of forward vision on their top jungle, so I was just kind of eyeing for someone who's isolated, but all of TeamSpirit's there. And you're at the low ground disadvantage here for OneMove. Pretty hard to pierce up. So, again, they're just kind of clumped up. They're clearing a few camps in Melajul. Your Alk is still farming. BKB coming up next. It still doesn't feel enough. It's only a 4k lead for Melajul over Yatoro. That's at least one major item, but it just doesn't feel enough for the Alk to just stand there and fight. And there's that Ags, Mikey. There we go.
This is my favorite part. Let's see how much damage it does, though, to be fair. I mean, like you said, John, maybe it doesn't even do damage. Melajul, smoke broken, ward down, avalanche out, there's your tree volley, and it doesn't really do much. It doesn't do enough. It almost just feels a bit trolly at this point, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, it does force a reaction out from OneMove. They kind of self-stun again in the unstable. I already popped that Chemical Rage. Could just wait that out. Roshan isn't even up. They don't check at the right time for OneMove. They know it's coming up soon, though. Big fight over that Rosh off the back of this next engage.
They're under the vision of TeamSpirit right now, so the Omni Slash gonna fly right through Knight. Yatoro's already got one down, and it's the pos one of OneMove as they get Panto as well. All they can do is run here. OneMove. Let's get out of there. Afterlife, he'll keep holding them back, but Collapse wants to go for a bit of a chase as now they jump in with Toronto, with the tree volley, with the tree throw. There's just trees everywhere. Onto the high ground. TSpirit, they don't even want the Aegis jump. They don't want it. They just want this game to be over already.
Yeah, they don't need it, Mike. They know they're ahead. Again, it's 5k over an Alk. That's more like almost 9k just on the nature of that hero. High ground push doesn't take too long. They know they're down the Rolling Thunder for some time here. And there's just no threat. OneMove has no big play. Unless they say line up a Bushwhack with the Acorn Shot into a roll with a huge Fortune Send root. Maybe? It still feels like you lack damage there.
Nine, he's forced to pop that BKB very early on. They might at least find Toronto out of this, and they do. Turax is down, but they'll keep trying to punish his Maposhka. He's going to TP out with the Ghost Scepter and be just fine. Still, the chase continues as Afterlife. He does have Rolling Thunder in about 5 seconds. They can at least find somebody. Well, Collapse, he's going to get caught out here on the Lycan, so they do get another. A nice kind of punishment here from OneMove, and maybe this actually opens up the Roshan for them.
It does. You're 2 heroes down on TSpirit. You don't have your jump without the Tiny. So that's the opportunity for Roche for OneMove. Roche number 2 with a free shard. They've got a big opportunity. They still have to clear through a couple of tier 1s. And all of the tier 2s still stand. So no high ground threat, but Toronto Tokyo doesn't want to give it away here.
Well, he's going to be quick, John. Roshan's already almost down. They're going to keep going for this, and eventually we'll have it as Toronto. He couldn't blink in time, but he gets the tree volley out. It's actually a fair bit of damage as Panto. He's going to go down on the Oracle, and there goes Knight. Melajul, do you really want to stick around? I don't think it's a good idea right now, because Omni's up in 3 seconds. Mirror's in. Avalanche not going to connect, though. Mirror gonna stun himself this time. Melajul, he'll throw another stun out. The sharpshooter's there. Now the Rolling Thunder. They're locked down for a while here. Yatoro will get the spin off in time. He's got the Omni ready to go. In fact, no, he already committed it. Never mind. He's trying to fight the old-fashioned way with the right clicks, and they've got him. The Alchemist gone for the first life. His Afterlife is forced to run away from Collapse, but now you leave the Arc to die. Melajul will do just that. He will go down, and so will Panto. Dying back on the Oracle's Collapse. He'll keep chasing Afterlife. Won't be able to get the Pangolier, but it's all about objectives. They'll go to the top tier 3 tower. They'll try to get the Megas up.
I mean, you know, everything's down again. That's you dealing with Aegis. It was like no problem for TSpirit. Get a good jump in to disrupt that initial Aegis fight. Yatoro's not even scared. He doesn't have Aegis on his end. He still has to spin bailout. They will bide their time in TSpirit. It just shows you the confidence they have. They still jump in. They know they can deal with 2 lives on the Alchemist. There's no threat there. They still find a good angle to drop them low into Roshan with the tree volley. This Axe is actually paying off from Toronto Tokyo. Like, yeah, the damage is not bursty, but it's ripping through the supports, and that's more. It's more than enough.
Oh, he's not gonna take it. That's a bit sad.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he'd take the bottle, he'd fill it up, you know? He gave it away to Yatoro. He's a responsible mid laner here, Jonathan. Very good to see from Toronto Tokyo, but you would have loved to see, wouldn't you? I believe he would have had, what, 700-800 right-click damage with the tree volley? With double damage?
Yep. Yeah, I'd love it. You know, still want to see that crit stick, but again, as you mentioned, Toronto Tokyo is playing responsibly. Mike going for the BKB. Speaking of, you also have your full BKB done for Collapse, so much more free to run around. With all the spell immunity coming out in the chorus, locking them in now in that chain stun, it just feels impossible. OneMove, they still have this one last Rax to play with no tier 3s. They've got to throw their bodies forward. If this doesn't pan out their way, this could be the beginning of the end already.
Well, they're fighting to the DD rune of Yatoro. Look how fast he takes that Rax. Already one range Rax gone. He might just wait for the next spin and just move in with DD rune again. Like, how do you stop him if he just spins his way in? You've got no way of locking him down. Instead, though, they're going to smoke up here. TSpirit through the mid lane, it seems, is where they're going to go. Trying to avoid breaking the smoke unless they see Melajul, and that they will. He does show up, but they won't make the jump in. Not quite yet. Instead, TSpirit, oh, they've got the spin back up. They could just move in for the final Rax. See if they can get it done, though. Bushwhack will hold down Yatoro. He's still fine, though, to go for an Omni Slash and just get rid of Afterlife immediately. The creeps will get rid of the Rax. At least not all of it yet. Melajul to try and move in with the stun out, but it does nothing. Keep in mind, Afterlife brought back, trying to defend this high ground, but with the HP of the melee barracks, there's just no chance of that happening now, surely. And it won't. Nice spin out, stun out, Melojul in trouble again. Will have the false promise to help him out, but they are getting plenty of damage off here on Melojul. So he'll back off with the Chemical Rage for now, but instead they've got Afterlife. A dieback immediately from the Pango, and they call it. They've had enough. GG's call, OneMove. It's an interesting kind of draft, John, and I believe it was Lizard again who did say that it felt like they were trying to cheese TSpirit here with the Alchemist. It just didn't work out. Like, it felt way too greedy, and it felt like they were just lacking way too much team fight here against Spirit.
Yeah, I think it just goes back to that opening. They go with the Alch, they pick up the Oracle. You maybe expect, all right, maybe they try something different. Maybe they pick up that Husker, go with a different Oracle combo. Ended up being Alchemist Oracle combination. We didn't even see the full potential of that sustain. TSpirit just played really aggressive. You know, they come out the gates running. They have this really stable lane for collapse. They understand what they have to do with Maposhka's Viper. Just buy all the space in the world to get collapse farmed up. Yatoro handles this lane really well as well. And you can see the damage output coming through there. Of course, the tree volley does do a substantial amount. Apparently. 5k in that time span. He had Yags. Very nice, Mike.
0 damage on the Oracle, though. Not very good to see at all. That's the targets you really want, is those poor +5s that aren't expecting these trees to be flying out of nowhere, just out of the fog of war. Still, with that, we are, of course, going to head into game number 2 draft very soon. Of course, before that, though, we are going to head off to a very short break. And right after that break, we'll be back with our lovely panel for game 2's draft. We'll see you then.